All right, now we're at part 2 of our awesome series called Jill Kane Uncensored. And we just started talking about some stuff that just really makes us laugh until we cry or cry until we laugh, which both happens.
Right.
We were just finished talking about the birdhouse drawing where teachers would get a ticket, and if their name was drawn, they might get a jeans pass. It might means they might get a jeans pass, they might get a cocktail napkin, or they might get a "My principal is proud of me" pencil.
Yes.
Which I heard that there was a possible attempt at a "My principal is a real plug" 3D printed object that might have been coming around. I don't know about that, but
I don't know about that.
And those are the kind of things like, Jerry Brooks is great at pointing this kind of stuff out. Shout out to Jerry Brooks.
Yes, shout out to
like
Jerry Brooks.
when he would talk about the things that principals would do to increase morale. And again, this goes back to that whole thing. There's training to principals on how to increase morale without spending money.
Yeah.
Because that there's stuff like or not spending a whole lot of money. Yeah. And in some cases, I don't know the specifics, but my understanding is sometimes money that was allocated for other things ended up going to these things. I know that there was a $500 designated by the PTA to cover hero cards that suddenly went somewhere else, and it's not accounted for. But anyways,
interesting.
That's the past.
Yeah.
But stuff like stuff like here's a Mr. Goodbar because you're good.
Oh yes,
at gooding above the bar, or these real cheesy little and again, one of my I hate the word amazing.
I hate it too.
How it's used, amazing and kiddos both driving
us. God.
Yeah. Now I know there's people out there use kiddos, and I have no problem beef with them, but I have been traumatized with the word kiddos because of a certain individual.
Yep.
I want to take us though. In addition to the music, the awesome stuff you would do with music, and I'm not just saying this because you're my friend. I'm not just saying this you're on the podcast, but the stuff that the kids were bringing back from music on their Chromebook and the stuff they were telling me about, I was like, I started incorporating those programs as one of their may-dos when they finished assignments, because it was and also it was incorporating quarter notes were incorporating fractions. They had to understand,
thank you for
those kind of things. And I'm just like, this is great.
Yeah.
And that's where our virtuoso, our friend who wrote the bus dismissal is treacherous.
Exactly.
That's where, and to me, that's the kids love that kind of stuff, and I'm all for it. If you knock out this assignment and I let you, they get to do music. Anyways. So, but in addition to all those cool things, you also were, and I'm not just going to say helping, but you were the morning news crew. I mean, you had more people helping, but there were some classic guests that would show up.
There were.
I know there was a couple guys that would announce the robotics things in different characters.
I think so.
I don't know how you got Batman to be part of the news crew.
Well,
that was pretty cool.
You just never know who's going to show up.
And when we had that one where Hermitage, the whole school reads one book.
Yes.
And it was Frendel. I heard that you hired a motivational speaker.
We did.
To come in and tell everybody about Frendel. Now, I understand he worked for Jeans Passes because he lives in a van down by the river. And I heard there was controversy with that because he promised everybody that read Frendel, if you don't read Frendel, you live in a van down by the river. And we had to retract that because our administrator was afraid it would send the wrong message.
Yeah, or
that kids would go home and say, Mr. Burden said I was going to live in a van down by the river. And I think I promised sandwiches or something, and then we had to come in and say
no, they're actually that sounds about right. You're reaching way back, Mr. Burden, but those are some great times.
The reason I bring this up though is because of I understand there was some misunderstandings with that, and
of course,
and it kind of goes back to the whole not understanding your people. You started a thing with the news crew where it was like telling a joke where they could send you. And this was back when we were
back in the day.
Classroom. It was right before we went to Schoology. So tell us about the joke thing and how that was taken away and why it was taken away, and then something else was started. It was completely different than your idea. Completely different.
Wait, hold on. Yeah.
Tickle me Thursday or Tickle My Funny Bone Thursday.
Oh my God. I was going to say, you're reaching it way back, Mr. Burden, but hold on. And I'm trying to rely on my memory here, but yes, I did devise a Google form.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what it was. Google form to submit these jokes. And some of these submissions were great, and some of them made for great conversation among teachers.
Yeah.
But it was, I haven't thought about this in a while, but yes, it was taken away. It was taken away. I think it was because it was taking too long or something like that.
It was interfering with morning meeting. We had to reduce the time.
Right, that's right. Yes, a lot of my ideas, a lot of my content on the news has been taken away because it takes too long.
Forget about the fact that we also had a bus problem and kids were coming in at 9:15.
Yeah, exactly.
And having to eat breakfast.
Yeah, but you're absolutely right. That's yep. So I had that. And it was replaced with Tickle My Funny Bone something or other.
Yeah, but then suddenly like it was only like the following year. Yeah. She had this great idea for this Tickle Me Thursday where you could submit jokes to her. Yeah,
great idea.
And I thought, and didn't we also, wasn't there one of the morale boosts for the kids was they could if they got because there was a student that was they would draw the student's name for something that they did, and they would go to the office to get a pencil. Now I gotta set this up. Now, I want you to tell the story back, and then I'll tell my side of it.
Yes,
let me tell my side first.
And then go.
You
now
explain what happened.
Yes.
So morning announcements, and they're going through. They draw a name. They'll say like Jenny from Miss McCann's class. Yeah. She went above and beyond and helped another student with blah blah. And they would go up to get a pencil from the administrator. Yeah. And then on the morning announcements, we're going through the thing, and I'm like taking attendance. I'm trying to everybody settling down, and they say Seymore Butts from Mr. Burden's class.
I think it was just Seymore. We didn't.
It was implied Seymore Butts.
That was.
But it was the key was the word Seymore. Seymore was the name, and Seymore from Mr. Burden's class. Got a pencil. Well, here's what happened. Of course, and I'll let you tell the story. But I immediately
you go right ahead.
Like, who's Seymore? They're looking around. We're like, who's Mr. Burden? I think they said Seymore. And I'm like, what? Well, yeah, they said Seymore. Who's Seymore? And I'm looking, I'm like, none of my kids just said Seymore. Until I realized I had a student who and my awesome my student from India. He's great guy. This dude's awesome. He went by his nickname, which began with a V, but his full name on the roster began with an S and could be mispronounced as Seymore if you're trying to pronounce it. So I think I rationalize, okay, they must mean he's Seymore because I'm thinking maybe it was written funny. They tried to write his real name and they said Seymore. So I send him up to he's just like, all right. I send him up to the office, and he goes up to the office and he comes back with my principal's Proudney pencil, and he just kind of looks like they called me Seymore. Like he's telling me like he's really just like perplexed, but just like we all just shrug it off, we go our day. And then I find out the story behind it. And please explain to our listeners how Seymore got his name into this contest.
Yes, because all of that was correct and accurate from your side. Oh my God, that was fantastic. But yes, see. The kids would they would write their names for something. I mean, this is what.
Well, I think teachers could write it, or kids. I think it was both.
Like
but yeah.
But again, because I was the only one that could see the digital thing. So again, they wanted to go back to pencil and paper, which I'm like, have at it,
Yeah.
And so
that's not create any problems.
Not at all. Yeah. So they had that mailbox by the cafeteria, right? Which is where all the kids threw all that stuff in, which that's a whole nother subject because, pieces of paper with kids' names on it were not the only things going in that mailbox. Of course, a lot of junk. Yeah. But anyway, yeah. So it's exactly what you said, that they would do those drawings. And of course, many times students were winning that maybe didn't deserve it on that particular day.
Mm-hmm.
The person
I think it's worth to note too that the drawings took place days, if not a week later than when they were submitted. So you might submit one for a student that was just really good that day.
Yeah.
And then the following week were just an a-hole. Yep, exactly. And so it's like you're like, all right, so that kind
exactly. Yes, and unfortunately, the person pulling the names didn't know anything about any of the students at the school, so they had no way of knowing if a winner was truly deserving on that.
And also to the point where they thought there was a student named Seymour.
Exactly. So that was part of the experiment. That was part of the experiment. I was, having a tough morning, needed to
that was your
smile.
Testable variable right there.
That's exactly it, Mr. Burden. See, I'm glad we had this conversation. So I placed one in there, and I think a colleague and a good friend of both of ours was present. Yes, was present for it, and maybe saw that I had written Seymore on the tag and threw it in there, and I'm like, let's see what happens, And so, so the person who pulls the names came in, and of course, she also needed myself or another adult to actually be the one to pull the names ahead of time too, to make sure she could read it and whatever. Just we had to do as much work for her as
of course
as we possibly could. Hold on, my dog is arriving.
Hello.
I know. Oh no, there she goes. She's following her boy. Yes. So, that day. So I think I, kind of showed the ticket, and I think our mutual friend was like, oh no. But I, put them on the table with the other tickets. And, sometimes the joke would be the other way around, where I'd pull the most illegible ones I could find, just to make her sweat a little bit. Yeah, exactly. So, and this was kind of that too. But yeah, that was exactly it. So I showed our mutual friend, and I think our poor mutual friend, he was like, I don't think there's anybody named that. And I'm like, oh, well,
but you picked the right teacher to put, because you had to put the teacher's name.
Most definitely.
And if there was any teacher that was going to play ball, it would have been Mr. Burden.
Would have been Mr. Burden. Yep. Yep. So when she read that name, and Seymore, Mr. Burden's class, congratulations. And I remember coming down to your room right after the news show, because I'm like, Mr. Burden's gonna think this is rich, he'll have to know that I was behind it, right? Except I got to your room, and I'm like, yeah, what'd you think about Seymore winning? And you're like, yeah, he already went and got his stuff and came back. And I'm like, who? And you're like, oh,
you have a Seymore in your class?
Yeah, like, wait a second. Did this completely backfire? Like, you don't have a Seymore in your class.
What if I actually did have a Seymore in my class? That would have been hilarious.
That's where my brain was going. And I'm like, whose first name is Seymore? Because I swear I had this figured out, and then you gestured over to, the friend that you mentioned. You're like, yeah, you already went down to the office and came back. He got a pencil. And then, you're that student of yours, so well-meaning, he's at his desk like, yes,
and
here it is.
If there was, most of my kids are awesome anyways, but
yeah,
especially was one that would have deserved any kind of rewards. Yeah. Absolutely. Right.
But very diligent, very honest. And I'm standing in the doorway like,
yeah.
What? Like, where? I think I came over to your table and told you. I'm like, well, here's what happened to me, And I think, and you're there, and you're like, oh my god! Like,
how funny would it have been though if you put butts if she read Seymore Butts.
I know. You know,
I mean, she would have been the Mo from Simpsons.
The Simpsons, absolutely. But see,
next week, IP Freely would have been the next student of the month.
That's it. But see, this was back in her early years when we didn't know quite how much intelligence was there. If I were to do it right now, I'd know I could put butts and be perfectly fine. But back then, I think we still weren't totally sure. Although, did you see that people have been doing that to school board meetings now, Mr. Burden? That people have been people have been signing up to speak at school board meetings using names.
See that. Oh, somebody Bruce Wayne or something.
Yes, something like that.
All right, we're all right. The board now recognizes Bruce Wayne, and because this was and for people to know, like the school board meeting now, it's school board. To talk about the school board, that's a whole hot mess. First of all, from politics, there's a big dog and pony show. We have. I would argue now that there's maybe one or two board members now that I feel like they're in it for the right reasons. Yeah, and they're kind of trying. But there was this. I guess it was almost like the three harpies of the right versus the fascists on the left, and because we literally had a clown on.
Well, yes, we did. Yes,
we had Sugar Bell on the school board.
Sugar Bell,
and this is not only Sugar Bell,
right?
What's that?
Did she retired now? Finally,
well,
right?
Retired, but I'm surpired she wasn't ousted when she told parents. Sure. We don't care about kids falling in the mud.
Yeah, exactly.
There was a whole hot mess. Yeah, but there was drama, and it would on Facebook, they would go back and forth, and they would always talk snotty about each other. And there was they kicked one out of the meeting one time because she wouldn't wear a mask and she had a doctor's note. There's all just drama between them. And then there was another one. I guess there was a scandal. The dude had, I don't know, but there's all kinds of stuff. But then the parents would come in. And of course, this is when you had the Trump, Biden or whatever. You had all these. You had these folks, and you had the mask mandates, and all this, and you had characters. I swear it was a South Park episode.
Oh yeah,
you had and I would watch it with entertainment.
Oh sure.
The lady would come in wearing the American flag, and she'd have a fake eagle on her shoulder, and she'd talk about how my forefathers didn't die face down in the mud because for us to have that kind of thing. And then you'd have this next lady, she'd come in and she'd look like this little meek little woman. She'd come up and say, well, maybe the problem is all the sinners in here. And she'd go like church lady on them. And then but the other side too, we'd have the other side of idiots come in and be like, well, maybe you idiots over there kissing Trump's butt would realize but you had this dichotomy. It was a hot mess.
Oh yeah.
So they decided, I guess they cited something. So they changed the way that speakers would be allowed to speak.
So you have to sign up.
Yep. Yeah, sign up. And sometimes they had a mix of virtual and physical.
Yeah.
And of course a lot of those characters were gone. So really the ratings went down after that. This thing was like must TV until But leave it to the ingenious minds to sign up. Bruce Wayne, Seymore Butts went from a star student to he wanted to speak at the
speak at the school board meeting.
Wow, and the school board, you kind of talk about the school board is elected.
Yeah,
but like you said, how much there's a lot of dog and pony show, and I almost feel like it's a small model of how our society is in general, where you've got all this bureaucracy when nothing really gets done. Nothing. Let me rephrase that. Nothing gets done that benefits the teachers and the students. Really,
very
the stuff
little
that gets done is maybe $1,000 bill at Captain George's restaurant, but there's other things that need to get done.
God, yes.
But Seymore Butts lives in the Hall of Fame of Hermitage Moments.
Yes.
And I mean this sincerely to you and Shane.
Yeah.
That the two of you did more to boost morale in a time where we desperately needed it than anything that our Fuhrer tried to do. And to the point where she was clearly jealous of it.
Oh,
like you would do
yeah.
There, tell us about the 5th grade bathroom.
Yes, our happy place.
And should we have a moment of silence for it, or is it still is the heart going on still?
I mean, the fall foliage still adorns the handicap rail, and there.
Explain to our listeners what we mean by the glorious 5th grade hall bathroom.
Yeah. So actually, I think that was born during Thorogood time too, wasn't it? I think it was. It's just, it was like the best kept secret in the building, and I started it. Yes, I did. Started by just putting stupid decorations in there, just as an outlet. An outlet. I mean, selfishly, it was for myself at first. I'm like, I just want to guarantee that, when I'm in that tiny room across the hall, ready to rip all my hair out, I want to come across the hall to go to the bathroom and then just know that I'm going to see stupid, funny stuff in here.
Yeah.
And so that was, that's how it started. And then I'd go to
as a contributing member of the secret society, not so secret society. I look forward to not only reading what was in there, but also adding my own stuff.
Yes.
And,
it caught on.
We had stuff like the Lionel Richie hello, is it me? You tear the little thing off.
Yep.
We had,
would you like to learn how to play the bassoon? No. Thank you.
And just like little stuff there. And of course, then we had like the board where we'd write stuff on it.
That's still there, probably because I used such high grade adhesive dry erase surface that they're never going to get it off.
And probably the only reason now you take our humor.
Yes.
And our gallows humor, and you also add, Shane has the same humor, but also add his artistic skills.
Oh my gosh, yes.
He would draw the perfect caricatures.
Yes.
And I feel like as I could be walking back from the administrative office pissed off, and then I slide into the 5th grade bathroom and I'll read something that just makes me howl.
Yep.
And that would hear people oasis.
Yep. Oh yeah, we'd hear people just losing their minds in there. We decorated it. We hung memes. I
think at one time Batman was watching you pee.
Yep, and Batman and Spider-Man.
Because it's Batman though. Batman was a character because that was actually a response to a student that was telling everybody he was Batman.
Yes.
Told Shane, go make me a sandwich, George.
Yep, called Shane George.
Yep, and now every time I tell Deb I got to go pick up my wallet, she'll say it right, wallet.
That's it.
That was the other thing that dude would shout out. But
wallet. That's right.
5th grade bathroom was like the oasis where
it was
nothing was off limits.
I mean,
we obviously, nothing offensive, nothing gratuitous, nothing not safe for work, but it was stuff that was real talk, true. It was ours
for grown-ups,
and it was our sanctuary. There were a couple teachers that didn't understand it, and I think a couple of them complained, what have you. I did notice, and there attempts were made to change it.
Yes,
I think somebody went in. Somebody, we know who, tried to turn it. And it's like, this is such a great place for morale. So now we're going to. She started putting like, she started putting like motivational, like positive, affirming things. And that lasted about a week until we started putting our own motivational messages. Some of which had this with it too.
Yes, exactly.
Oh, that was
man, but those were great. Like we put those activity tablecloths in there. Remember that? The activity tablecloths that you can get for the kids' table at Thanksgiving and Easter dinner. Yep, those went right on the wall.
And every meme that you could think of.
That
was either
every possible meme.
I put my Photoshop skills to the to work.
Same,
I would go in and I would print stuff up. Yeah, and something was. I remember there was a controversy where some room they put in a punch pad or a number pad or something. You had to. I can't remember what it was. Oh, I know what it was. There was a big I know what it was. Okay, I remember what it was. There was a big drama about we had to lock the we had to keep obviously the bathroom we had to keep locked, but we had to keep the copy room, the teacher workrooms locked. Because they were afraid that the issue was students might run in there. But here's the problem. That was a decision that was made without consulting anybody, because the decision was, it's a security. We got to make sure people are going in there. Well, couple things. One, if you're a teacher and you don't have your key with you, you're not getting it.
Too bad.
If you are a volunteer parent that's coming in to make copies for the grade level or do something, you can't get in.
Nope.
It caused more problems than it solved.
Of course it did.
But the iron fist of the Fuhrer was kept saying, no, it's got to be secure. We got to keep those things secure. So I put a paper printout of a keypad, and I said, you've got to enter the code before you get in, which is funny because it's paper. But people would say, and of course kids would poke it.
Sure.
And then they think it was
my God, I forgot all about that.
But that's the kind of stuff we did to get to really the levity,
to self-medicate all the crap.
I recall it was I can't remember if it was beginning of the year or the end of the year, but it was a celebration that where you provided mocktails.
Oh yeah.
And the names of those mocktails were,
I'm glad you remember this.
Tremendous.
Yes.
What were some of those names?
Oh my gosh. Of course it was and just like everything else there though, I presented the idea. I even donated the supplies, but then of course somebody else had to be the one to
get the
carry it through all the way. So it was not it wasn't done correctly. And I would have to it wasn't, believe it or not, it wasn't done correctly. But there was some of the plays on words though.
There were some serious inside jokes.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I think there was the pink flamingo, or the music room maybe. Or I don't know. I forget the name of the
drink. And it was funny how that drink was a lot colder than the others.
That's it.
And
that's what it was. It was served ice cold, just like the music room.
Just like the music room. Yes, and for those people that when Jill got kicked out of her original music room, she was put into what used to be the computer lab. And the computer lab was purposely designed to be like, it felt like 10 degrees colder.
Yeah.
But it was designed to be colder than the other rooms in the building because originally it housed the
all those
PCs.
Computers.
But apparently nobody on the planet knew how to nobody in power to do so understood how to change the temperature in there.
Yep.
So it was constantly freezing
at like 60. Yeah.
It was like 60 degrees.
Yep.
Yeah.
But, oh my God. But then there was that. And then like second grade. Oh, students on the swim. That was a whole other one.
That was the logistics.
Oh God.
So basically the premise was second graders for a chunk of the year, and I don't know if it was 6 weeks, 4 weeks, they would take swimming. Well, of course, we don't have a pool at the school. So they would go to the rec center. So they'd have to get on the bus, all the second grade teachers, all the, everybody have to get on the bus. They would transport to, and talk about a logistics nightmare. I mean, just getting the kids to get to the cafeteria without drama was one thing.
Yeah.
Getting them on a bus, traveling to and fro, another thing. Of course, it was they couldn't do it at their regular PE time all the time, and sometimes it would interfere with music, and all that kind of stuff.
And with music for other grade levels.
Yeah, crazy stuff.
Yeah.
I want to ask you from the music teachers or music coach perspective, whatever they call us now.
Teacher, I think.
Teacher.
I think I still am.
Let's be real. Music, because when the doors close, you're a music teacher. You're not whatever they want to call you.
Yeah.
I want to ask you from a SPED standpoint, because I think there's a lot going on right now that's questionable with SPED support, what's allowed, what's not, and this gets really murky because this kind of stuff puts you in legal issue, can really get you into legal trouble. And I think when you have a narcissistic nincompoop as an administrator, that's dangerous to put in a position where we could have some litigious action. So when it comes in, well, a lot of people may not understand about special education is when you have an IEP, there are requirements.
Yeah.
And there are required minutes. There are things in the IEP itself that are required that we agree to meet to. Yeah. In addition to Virginia Beach schools and then the United States of America, things that we have to make sure happen or have, like advocacy and all those others. There's so many things that have to happen that you have to consider, and you can't just arbitrarily make up a rule that doesn't exist or arbitrarily ignore a rule that does exist. From your perspective, without getting into names or anything, but you could do hypothetical situations that you observe. How, as a music instructor, what are some of the challenges you've seen and some of the frustrations you've had when things that like first, what is the understanding if a student is supposed to have a one-on-one or student's supposed to have, different IEPs? How does that affect your instruction when because they have to go to music just like every other student?
Right.
How does that impact your instruction? Or
well,
how has it?
Yeah, well, it certainly, it certainly varies student to student, of course.
Wallet.
But
Wallet.
Yeah. Thanks. But it's like you just said, students have different accommodations for different reasons. Whether a student has an assistant designated for them or not, I will say that's becoming less and less of a thing due to staffing and funding and everything. They don't have the staffing nor the funding to provide a student with extenuating needs that support that they really need. So what does that look like in music? Well, depending on the student, we've had students who are very predictable in the classroom, and then they get to music and it's completely different.
Different setting.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Which my room is a totally different setting. I don't have desks. It is loud. And for some special ed students, it doesn't matter. For some special ed students, they manifest the same in music as they do in the classroom. For others, it's a totally different story. They're completely overstimulated just by surprise sounds, whether it's loud or just that it's there. The fact that I have music playing at all can be overstimulating to some. Some will adjust and some simply won't. The students who don't adjust, there's been, no amount of support is going to make it a pleasant experience for them, which is sad because you want students to enjoy music. But if a student's going to be integrated into music with 20 other students where my plan is working well for those students, then I can't easily change the entire plan to appease one student, especially not knowing what that one student really needs, because you can't figure it out in 40 minutes a week of music instruction in with other kids. This particular school year, I saw some special ed students thrive. Some have been attending the school for many years, so I personally know them well now, which was not always the case when they were younger. And then we have some students that I think are just misplaced in the public school in general. They have needs that go far beyond anything that I was under the impression the public school provided as part of a school day. And those students were brought to music, and most of the time it wasn't a pleasant experience for anybody. The student would be so overstimulated, and they are with an adult, they're with an adult, but they're approaching the door and they immediately start screaming because it's too much. Noise canceling headphones and everything. And, I wish we were in a position to say, gee, that student's making it perfectly clear that they don't want to
they don't belong
be there.
in this
right
setting. Yeah.
Right.
And that's not fair to them. either. It's
exactly. But see, when you have weak administrators saying no, they have to, and you have to make it work, and that's a whole other topic, because yes, music is for everybody. I think that everybody can find some type of music that that enriches their life, that it brings them joy. But you can't cater to individual tastes and individual needs when a student is part of a larger group, if those individual needs exist.
Yeah.
So,
and that's another thing. Kind of, if they exist, in some cases, have you ever sat in on an IEP meeting before?
I have not recently. Let's put it that way. I think I have, but it's been many, many years, and not in my current school. I have not.
Well, and it's interesting because I think in the last, I'd say, like, definitely pre-pandemic, but I'd say arguably in the last 7 years or so, there seems to be a shift in like, they put some buffers, and they restructured a lot of things. One, and I can kind of understand some of the philosophy, but, like, for example, the process used to be, if you identify a student that's special needs, and the parents have them tested, and they're identified as what have you, that they seek an IEP. You go through the process and what have you, but there's now this thing called SRT, that's a buffer between. And what frustrates me is, I feel like I understand why it's needed, but again, it's kind of like any tool can be good or bad depending on its wielder. And what happens with the SRT is it's basically, it's called Student Response Team. And the process now is, if you have a student that's struggling for whatever reason, you have your anecdotal notes, you get all this information, and do everything right, and you try these interventions, and then you bring this information to the SRT, or they have an initial, like, almost like a hearing, if you will,
I guess.
and you present this information, and then they decide what the next course of action, and then if they decide to proceed with SRT, then a group of teachers come together, and we put together a plan. Again, this is before IEP or a behavior plan or anything official is done. This is just internal. But what happens a lot of times is the teacher gets sent back. Oh, well, you didn't try this intervention, so you go back and try it. So, and and by the time
red tape,
by the time the teacher has exhausted, like, countless interventions, to the point where it's like, this kid needs extra help,
support. They don't want to
support. It's the end of the year, and what they say is typical. Let's see how he does next year in a new setting. Or let's try.
Of course.
So what happens is, and the reason I'm bringing this up is, there seems to be a bottleneck of students that probably need accommodations that aren't getting them because of that. But then the flip side is, you're seeing if a parent comes in, raises hell, or certain things, there's some situations where it's like, once you're in that IEP meeting, if you don't have if you don't have a administrator that understands the system, understands education, understands the real how it isn't logical, and is afraid of parents being mad at them, then you often get accommodations put in that really aren't beneficial to anybody. Not beneficial to the staff, but not even to the student. I think a lot of times things once you break past that SRT or whatever have you, if students in an IEP meeting, a lot of times that gets recommendations things get stuffed in there that aren't reasonable. And not effective. And I think that's a problem. And I think that comes back to, like, when your situation is, you might have, that's when you start to see students just dropped off in music without anybody. or you know what I'm saying, or like there's things that don't quite make sense, but it's because on paper it has to be that way.
It has to. Yep.
Yeah. So and it's frustrating because, and I think in general, not just with IPs, but I think in general students, they're not getting the supports they really need. And there's so much bureaucracy that's thrown at it. It gets you to a situation like what happened in Parkland, Florida, or you get a situation like in these shootings or these tragic situations, or we could talk about Newport News in a second.
Really.
You get these situations where these kids know, and kids know if they're, a lot of times kids know if they're struggling, and then they end up still, it's like the system doesn't support them, and then by the end, you have those situations. And I mean, I didn't mean to go off on a tangent.
No, you're good.
But
good.
I think like where you see a student, because you see the whole school, and you'll also, like, if you'll see this kid as they go, like if they stay with Hermitage, because you'll see them start as a kindergarten and they'll work their way up. And because you get to see them all the time. And do you see sometimes where, like, are there things that make you wonder if the system is failing these kids?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And it's like I said a minute ago too, it's it's nearly impossible to gauge how appropriate the current music setting is for any special ed student, because they only come to me once a week for 30 to 40 minutes. But across the board, we just had a student finish 5th grade. And now that student, his symptoms, I think, have been consistent throughout that, because he was in kindergarten. He was mine in kindergarten all through. And he's been one of the only students at Hermitage to complete all 6 years, at one school. And, I was able to teach him all 6 years. And I have to say that in that student's case, his symptoms were pretty predictable each year. And I don't think, first of all, I don't think that's the norm. And second of all, just, his character in general, he's never been overstimulated by music. So I think he was able to, hold on, my dog's here.
Hey.
Yeah. Brownie. Yeah. She's making herself known.
Good girl.
I know, right? Yeah. Good girl, Brown. Have a seat.
All right. We're going to take a quick break from solving all of the world's problems to tell you about a good friend of mine and a service she's offering. Are you tired of feeling like your dream financial future is out of reach? Are you struggling with overwhelming debt, trying to pay off your home early, or simply wanting to give more? Well, my good friend Vanessa Rudder-Jackson is here to help. An educator and military veteran, Vanessa is here to guide you through the confusion and make your dream financial future a reality. With her certified financial coaching services, she'll help you create a personalized plan that sets you up to win with money. As an educator and a mother of 2, Vanessa understands the challenges of scraping by and stretching paychecks. She's been there, and she knows how to navigate the financial landscape to help you thrive. Don't let financial stress hold you back any longer. Take the first step towards financial freedom today with Rudder-Jackson Financial Coaching. Reach out to Vanessa today for a free 45-minute consultation at varudder34@gmail.com, or go to tinyurl.com/RJMoneyCoach. That's varudder34@gmail.com or tinyurl.com/RJMoneyCoach. Remember, it's never too late to take control of your finances and achieve your dreams. Start your journey to financial freedom with Rudder-Jackson Financial Coaching today. All right, now let's get back to solving the world's problems with the most charming host on the interwebs.
Anyway, yeah. So with this, in the case of this student, he's his symptoms were always pretty predictable, and he was able to get something out of his music time. Now we have other students who either being there causes them pain, you know, or they just, you know, not only are they not getting anything out of it, but it's you know, slowing down the rest of the class too.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but to, you know, unfortunately with students that, you know, the music setting isn't going well for them, unfortunately, we're not given them much of an option beyond, well,
yeah,
you know, just, you know, deal with it, deal with it, or
what did you say? What did you say? Deal with
it. Or, you know, wait it out, you know, wait it out. But it's like, you know, wait it out for how long? You know, because I can admit that there have been students who, you know, hated music when they were younger because it was too much. But then the older they got, they grew, they matured, and started enjoying it. But you never know when that's going to happen, because it's like, well, they enjoy it now, but geez, at the beginning of all this, it was, you know, it was a nightmare.
Good girl, Brownie. Good girl. I know you miss your mommy.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
I do have more that I wanted to ask you about, but I think it's probably time for Brownie to get her mom back.
Right.
But thank Jill. Let's do this again as we get closer to fall.
And
absolutely. Again, I this is fantastic. I've enjoyed every minute of this.
Yes, likewise.
We can go another 2.5 hours. But, exactly. Is there anything that you want, any advice you want to give to everybody, or is there anything you want to promote that people need to know about?
Oh man.
Or should they check, and where can they find you on TikTok and Facebook and Twitter and all that?
Oh geesh.
Or you can send me. I'll put it in the post-production.
I'll put it. Yeah, there we go. There we go. Yeah, we'll do that.
But any final thoughts for encouragement for all the educators out there doing what they can?
I mean, just, you know, keep doing what you need to do. I think, you know.
Do we need to speak up more?
You know, if you have it in you, yes. Yep. If you have it in you. Otherwise, you know, find a good listening ear in the building, and you know,
but you're only allowed one.
Do right, yeah, all right, yeah. Do what you got to do, whether it's venting or hanging up stupid stuff in the bathroom.
Well, on behalf of Jill, Kane, and Seymore,
yes,
this
Seymore.
is Mr. Burden. Thanks for tuning in to part 2 of the 2-part Jill, Kane Uncensored. And also on behalf of Brownie, have a great summer. And we'll talk to you next time.
All right.
Catch full episodes of the Educators Podcast every Thursday at 4 p.m. Real educators with the real issues in education. Thank you so much for watching. And of course, take care of yourself. Jeans passes to anyone who likes, shares, and comments on this video. Have a great week.